Among those remembering their time with President Nelson are those who lived closest to him, his neighbors.
Yeah, and they shared with Aaron Cox that he was the same man, whether it was family, friends, or whoever he was around.
Yeah, that's right, Mike and Deanie. President Nelson lived in the Harvard-Yale area here in Salt Lake City, and his neighbors say they were not just included in the big moments, but the small moments of the Nelson family life.
Steve Rich grew up next door to President Russell Nelson.
My earliest memory is that you had to get up pretty early in the morning if you wanted to shovel your own sidewalk, because President Nelson would do it.
President Nelson served as a stake president when Steve was preparing for his mission.
The interview was, I should say, very comprehensive.
After his mission, Steve moved a door down with his wife Melinda, where they watched President Nelson receive the call to the Quorum of the 12 Apostles.
He would be practicing talks. He would be saying talks while he was walking and memorizing them. And I thought that was always so cool.
The Riches watched the Nelson's family grow from a family of 9 to 10.
One time I came into the circle, and on the outside of the Nelson's house was this big blue blanket, and they'd had all these girls. And when we saw that blue blanket, we were so thrilled that they had Russell.
They enjoyed Christmas parties and community gatherings.
You know, we would set up a neighborhood party every September and invite all of our neighbors in the circle to come. And it was always just such a pleasure. Danzel was such a fun person. She sang in the choir. She had a beautiful voice. She taught in Relief Society. She was just a loving, warm person. And
it was at one of these neighborhood parties they received the news about Danzel Nelson's passing.
And I remember that as being kind of such a hard time for our ward. We loved that family very much.
Yet when they saw President Nelson on his morning walks, he spoke of joy.
He would talk about his joy in knowing that the resurrection and our life together in the future is real. When he gave talks about that, then it was pretty much the same talk that he gave to me in pieces.
Moments and memories as neighbors of President Nelson.
People would often say to us, what was it like living next to President Nelson? I'd say, it's just exactly the same as he is now. It's not any different.
He has always extended himself for the welfare of his fellow beings and for the gospel and the church.
Now, the Rich family says that President Nelson was also influential to their neighbors in that same neighborhood who were not members of the church, that they were always invited to gatherings and always very involved. Mike, Deanie, back to you.
All of these things you hear about, characteristics of Christ, and that's what he emulated, and everyone will tell you that. It's just so powerful to hear these backstories. Thank you, Aaron.